Ladies and gentlemen, poets and praise singers, special guests and spoken word performers, lovers of language and holders of hope, welcome to the 4th annual AVBOB Poetry Gala. I'm Roseanne McKenzie, your host for the evening. Here we are again. Just over a year ago, I spoke these very same words of welcome as we ventured into the first ever online prize giving. Now, some 12 months on, we're meeting virtually once again. Who would have imagined? It's hard to predict when we can gather safely in person again, clinking glasses face to face, but until then, nothing can stop us from celebrating the power of poetry. Tonight, we take delight in all the ways poetry enriches our lives. It comforts and consoles us in our darkest hour. It educates and entertains us. It spurs us on to live more deeply creative lives as we write our own poems. It encourages us to live more authentically as we listen more deeply and read more widely. Poetry helps us to consider and see the world from the viewpoint of other people. Holding our heads high despite having our lives turned upside down by the pandemic, we are gathered to celebrate the astonishing achievements of all the finalists who wrote their remarkable verses under arduous COVID conditions. And we are excited that 84% of our finalists tonight are youth poets, aged 35 and under. In fact, in every category except English and Afrikaans, we have a youth poet as a winner. This speaks volumes about the youth who are speaking in their mother tongues. It also reveals the raw potential of our country's young people, which is a cause for great hope for the future. Before introducing our specially selected entertainment, I want to greet and thank all our guests for joining us here tonight. They are the Chairman of the AVBOB Board of Directors, Mr. Jannie Venter, members of the Board of Directors, AVBOB CEO, Mr. Carl van der Riet, the AVBOB Executive Committee members, and all the AVBOB staff who have extended themselves to assist shareholders and clients who lost loved ones due to the pandemic. I want to acknowledge the CEO of Brand et al., Dr. Christo van der Westhuizen, and his representatives, our visionary editor-in-chief, Johan de Lange, and our 11 language editors, but most importantly, our poets, both commissioned and prize-winning. I also want to acknowledge the celebrities and influencers among us who so generously use the power of their social platforms to promote the AVBOB Poetry Project. We love it when you share our poetry with your networks. Talking about celebrities, now is the moment to introduce you to our entertainers. Mo Afrika Amugati, a powerful female poet, is the perfect choice of entertainment for this Women's Month. We celebrate her unique voice that speaks for and to so many wonderful women in South Africa. Originally from Mamelodi, Mo Afrika is a true Renaissance woman. Amongst other things, she's a writer and radio presenter, a translator and a teacher, a cultural activist and actress, curator and creativity coach. Double bass phenomenon Viwe Mkizwana comes from the Eastern Cape. His passion for music has taken him across the country and around the world into the gravelly depths of jazz and soaring into the heights of classical music. With the Miyaji Orchestra, he performed in the Royal Concertgebouw in Amsterdam, in the Berlin Philharmonia, and in Sweden's King's Castle Orchestra. Please applaud with all you've got for Viwe and Mo Afrika.
My people don't die. Oh, the journey older. My people don't die. The journey older. Grief is like waiting in the wind, waiting for a familiar breeze to awaken you to warmth breathe. Your existence still holds space. Even after the storm, fighting an invisible enemy. Grief is like longing for a home when you have seen temples bend down with no one to rebuild them. Wear the mask, wash your hands, and pray for hope to stick around. Khotlela, kodumela wena moepa thutse kgole ke mo re tswang. My people don't die. They journey under. My people don't die. They journey under. My people don't die. They journey under to sight over us, hold heaven and hell for us. They are infinity wrapped in human leather, resurrected by cosmic continuity, reincarnated through clan names and totems given in their honor, whispering truth through songs and light. My grandmother told me we are the living ancestors who eat pap. My people don't die. My people don't die. They journey on. My people don't die. They journey on.
My people don't die. They journey yonder to watch over us. Wow, what fabulous life-affirming stuff. Just the kind of magic that is music to the ears, balm for the soul. Just what AVBOB CEO Carl van der Riet endorses and supports in his ongoing role as the primary benefactor of the AVBOB Poetry Competition. Please put your hands together and help me welcome Carl van der Riet.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Thank you for joining us as we gather online to celebrate the poets of the 2020 AVBOB Poetry Project. In March 2021, we noted how a whole year had passed since President Ramaphosa announced the start of lockdown, and what an extraordinary time this has been. At AVBOB, we recognized how our very existence had come into being as a result of the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. AVBOB's founding fathers recognized the opportunity for a communal solution to restore dignity and to uplift the community. This golden thread of commitment remains central to AVBOB's corporate DNA, and we promised ourselves that we would rise to the challenge presented by the COVID-19 pandemic with a renewed commitment to all our stakeholders. And I'm proud to say that we've done this. The resilience and hard work of our staff across the country has been unbelievable. They are a credit to the AVBOB brand, and I believe our founders would approve. It is in times of testing that true character is revealed. And as an organization, we have been tested severely. And what has been revealed is a depth of empathy and a strength of resolve that is both humbling and inspiring. At this time, we would like to extend our sympathies and condolences to all who have been impacted by the pandemic. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you. Now, the AVBOB Poetry Project came into existence in July 2017 with one clear goal, and that was to provide those at a loss for words with poems that would speak to their suffering. The AVBOB Poetry Project continues this aim and includes a belief in Ubuntu. We believe that by enabling each person to see and know their own humanity through the humanity of others, we contribute to the healing and restoration of ourselves and our communities. While only in its 4th year, the project continues to gather momentum and to grow, and still manages to surprise and delight us with its ongoing reach and evolution. Tonight, I would like to say thank you to each and every poet for their generosity in sharing this journey with us and the beauty of their poetry. I would also like to thank the people who spearheaded and managed the project. Our Editor-in-Chief, Johan de Lange, Brand Etal Group CEO, Dr. Christoph van der Westhuizen, our General Manager, Corporate Affairs, Mr. Adrian Bester, and of course, all our spirited and professional language editors. And so, on to the real purpose of the evening. We're gathered here to acknowledge and celebrate the winners of the 4th AVBOB Poetry Competition and to release our 4th print anthology, which was produced as part of the broader project. This unique and highly collectible anthology contains poems specially commissioned from our leading poets across the land in all 11 languages. We want these anthologies to be a place where all the languages of our land will merge and give voice to the complex, remarkable, and multifaceted country in which we live. Ladies and gentlemen, AVBOB is extremely proud of this initiative, and we are honored to be associated with each and every one of you who has done so much to make a success of this project. The competition has continued to grow year on year, and if you'll allow me, I'd like to share some interesting stats of the 4th competition. This year, we grew our entries into the 4th competition by 35% to 41,149 poems, compared to 30,573 poems the year before. This also equates to almost exactly double the first year's 20,774 poems entered. A total of 7,124 individual poets entered this year. Over the past 4 years, a grand total of 121,629 poems were submitted. The online AVBOB Poetry Library also grew by an additional 4,100 poems in 2020, and now offers a total of 14,049 poems of comfort and consolation. Each poet received 300 Rand's usage fee after their poem was selected for publication into that library. AVBOB is proud to have again demonstrated our support for South African poets by investing 1,230,000 Rands into usage fees alone. The 3 language categories which experienced the biggest growth compared to the 2019 competition were Siswati with 254% increase, Setswana with a 118% increase, and Sesotho with a 63% increase. For our guests joining us tonight for the first time, it's important to remember that the online AVBOB Poetry Library, with its over 14,000 original poems currently available, is crafted by South Africans for South Africans in their time of need. We have a community of engaged poets who are speaking to one another in their mother tongues, and who, through the competition, have seen their words and their languages validated and championed. And more importantly, we have found a language, the language of poetry, which connects us all. While this evening brings the 4th annual AVBOB Poetry Competition to a close, it also marks a new beginning, the launch of the 5th AVBOB Poetry Competition, which opened at the start of this month and which will run until the 30th of November 2021. We would like to encourage all our guests to spread the word about the 5th competition or to submit a poem of your own. Please connect with us by liking the AVBOB Poetry page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you or someone you know has lost a loved one or are simply a lover of poetry, I invite you to visit our online poetry library, which is freely available on avbobpoetry.co.za. And now, Roseanne, you can join me again as we share something exciting with our guests tonight. Thank you.
Go, Carl.
Thanks, Roseanne.
COVID-19 has prevented us from being able to enjoy this moment with you in person. But please join us virtually by grabbing a bottle of bubbly or your favorite non-alcoholic beverage, and let's raise a glass to toast arguably the best of South Africa's poets tonight.
Thank
You ready for the awards, Carl?
I can't wait.
Let's celebrate our finalists in all 11 language groups. And now, on to our winners, announced according to reverse alphabetical order, starting with our Xitsonga language category. In third place, we have Martin Ngobeni. And in second place is M.R. Matye. And the winner of the 4th AVBOB Poetry Competition in the Xitsonga language category is...
Thank you. Owen Maswanganye. Congratulations, Owen.
Owen Maswanganye is from Chudu, a small village in the Giyani region of Limpopo, but now he resides in Pimville, Soweto. He works as a CNC programmer as his day job and follows his passion for poetry by night. He follows in the footsteps of other poet programmers like the late Hugh Hodge and, believe it or not, J.M. Kutsia. Owen believes that poetry can heal the nation, physically and spiritually. He says, the AVBOB Poetry Competition gave me that platform to speak with and to the nation. This was his first attempt at entering a competition. He adds, I've never won anything except people's hearts. In third place in the Chivenda language category, we have Elelwani Mutelo. And in second place is Sheila Mapalala. And the winner of the 4th AVBOB Poetry Competition in the Chivenda language category is...
Jeremiah Naluvalani. Congratulations, Jeremiah.
Jeremiah Neluvalani is from Thohoyandou in Limpopo and is looking for a job. He discovered his love of poetry in his teens. Without a platform to grow his passion, poetry remained a hobby. When he heard about the AVBOB Poetry Competition in 2019, he started participating. It was an opportunity he will always be grateful for. His grief at the loss of his beloved uncle, who was a pillar of his family, spurred him on to draft the poem Udivanwali. In third place in the Siswati language category, we have Beketele Mahlalela. And in second place, we have Lindelani Kumalo. And the winner of the 4th AVBOB Poetry Competition in the Siswati language category is...
Innocentia Matsebula. Well done, Innocentia.
Innocentia Matsebula is our youngest winner this year. At 17, she hails from Kamhlushwa in Mpumalanga, currently studying for her International Baccalaureate at Waterford Kanhlaba in Eswatini. She loves writing short stories and novels. She always wanted to enter a writing competition in her mother tongue. One day, while looking at her baby photos in the family album, she realized that she hadn't grown up by herself. Innocentia says, my parents' love and care was there for me all along. I wondered if they ever thought of me reaching the age I am now. In my poem, I see myself as a seed that was well taken care of. In third place in the Setswana language category, we have Poncho Mwepeng. And in second place, we have Siabonga Clinton Koribe. And the winner of the 4th AVBOB Poetry Competition in the Setswana language category is...
Beauty Klabi. Well done, Beauty.
Beauty Tlhabi from Tutlwane in the northwest is following in the footsteps of a South African literary giant. Like Tina Mhlophe, who started her working life as a domestic worker, Beauty works as a nanny. This talented young woman joined the Pene Botshelo Writers Forum in her teens, where writing teacher Mr. Molebatsi Bosilong encouraged her to pursue her love of the written word. Beauty chose the form of a sonnet as a container for her anger. Her poem, Ngwetsi Yamalapa, is a response to the intensity of her feelings as she observed the sheer number of funerals taking place on the day she buried a close church friend. In third place in the Sesotho language category, we have Lehlohonolo Mofokeng. In second place, we have Thabo Kane. And the winner of the 4th AVBOB Poetry Competition in the Sesotho language category is
Thabang Kaba. Well done, Thabang.
Thabang Kaba is a self-employed backyard farmer who grows and sells his vegetables in Matswakeng village outside Qwaqwa in the Free State. He follows in the fine tradition of other farmer poets like Modikwe Dikobe, Charles Mungoshi, and V.E. Lo. The drought featured in his poem threatened his livelihood and his existence. He says, "We need a permanent solution to the water crisis so that farmers can produce crops, livestock doesn't suffer from hunger and thirst, and people can have access to clean water." In third place in the Sepedi language category, we have Mapule Ramaila Moswane. And in second place, we have Halalelo Holiness Apane. And the winner of the 4th AVBOB Poetry Competition in the Sepedi language category is
Tebogo Patricia Mamabolo. Well done, Tebogo.
Tebogo Mamabolo, who resides in Shoshanguve, won the Sepedi category last year too. In the absence of a mentor, she found the AVBOB Poetry Competition very helpful in her writing. Her powerful poem examines the family dynamics that inevitably transpire in the wake of a death. Tebogo hopes to encourage people to pay attention to the matter of a will. So often, unpleasant disputes arise after a funeral, she says. It's very important for people to put a will in place to prevent the disintegration of a family into a greedy fight. Please put your hands together for our first 6 winners and their runners-up. Thank you for sharing your powerful poems with us. Thank you for joining me, Carl. I'll see you in a bit.
Good, thank you.
Additionally, a very special vote of thanks is in order for all 11 judges. They worked tirelessly to recognize the strongest poetry. From Uppington in the Northern Cape to Thames Ditton in Surrey, Douglas Reed Skinner has journeyed through many parts of the world and has wandered along diverse career paths. Douglas is our English language editor, and he works with all other language editors to finesse the translations into English which appear in the annual poetry anthology, I Wish I'd Said. While traveling the world, he has at various stages taken on the challenges of accounting and acting, banking and building, drilling, as well as delving into the wine trade. He's also given his full attention to translation and trucking, mining, manufacturing, and manuscript preparation. Douglas is a prolific poet with 6 published collections of his own. He has, either alone or with an associate, published 9 books of translation. The South African literary community has benefited time and time again from his thoughtful curatorship and support for emerging poets. He has edited various literary journals over the years. Together with Patricia Schonstein, they founded and edited the literary magazine Stanzas. Tonight, we recognize his tireless work on behalf of the AVBOB Poetry Project since its inception. Douglas reads every single poem from the first line to the last. He works with great attention, precision, and tenderness. It is a Herculean task. We are delighted to have him join us from the United Kingdom to share his unique insights on the 4th competition. Over to you, Douglas.
Imajambu lamanene, Lokovela, Sanibonani, Dumelang, Sanibona, Molweni, Lochani. Good evening. Goeienaand. Thank you, Carl, for inviting me to speak once again on behalf of Johan and my fellow editors. Dankie, Rosanne, voor uw vrijgevige bekendstelling. I hope everyone is safe and well in these uncertain times. Since my teens, I've been trying to write poems that resonate in the reader and that will last. I've also had to work in many different occupations, amongst which, as you heard, is the building trade, which is where many of us unqualified people end up for want of earning a living. I mention this because building provides the structures that protect us from the elements, in which medicine and education are practiced, and where we conduct entertainment, business, and administration. The trades have impressed two things on me. Firstly, solid foundations make for buildings that last. Secondly, you learn how to build from experienced builders. What's that to do with a poetry project, you ask? Poetry is also a kind of building, and those two truths apply just as much to writing as they do to building. A solid foundation gained through study and reading is the route to writing good poetry. And the best poems of the past are the teachers that produce the best poems of the future. There are no shortcuts. It's not easy street. AVBOB's online poetry library is as unique a national resource as there is. As Carl mentioned, it now has over 14,000 poems for the bereaved, new parents, those in love, and those in need of the sustenance of hope. A library to help and guide us through the most important occasions of our lives, and which also educates us emotionally and mentally. As the great architects would recognize, it's a building that teaches. If I were asked how to enter the competition, I'd say, go to the website, read the rules, but before you enter, read the library. Now, in the first 3 years, we built a solid foundation. But 2020 really surprised us all, with almost double the entries of the first year. Not only that, writers were digging deeper. They had learned so much more about shaping their poems, and the quality has kept on growing. Quite simply, competition is also an educator. Now, to me, the leading contenders for the English prize continue to teach me how variable the art of storytelling can be. In one, a seemingly plain surface belies cultural depths. Another reads like a very short Graham Greene novel to great allegorical effect. A third piles image on image, superbly using language to get form and meaning working hand in glove. A fourth cleverly employs a modern, ironic retelling of biblical myth. A fifth is written in the form of a letter to a child by a dying parent. And a sixth takes us for a descriptive drive through local scenes. I could carry on. Choosing the winners was harder than ever. I have focused on building an education because they fit into AVBOB's broader purpose of assisting us in living useful lives, growing and learning, working and celebrating, saving, and perhaps most importantly of all, properly honouring our ancestors. The primary role of AVBOB is looking after the departed and the bereaved, but that is not the limit of what they do. They support education, the cornerstone of any society. They put refurbished shipping containers into schools as libraries, fully stocked with books. They've donated hundreds of millions of rand towards the school's infrastructure project. They are helping to build the future. Now, it's August 2021, and we're already busy building the 5th floor of the Poetry Library. It's good to be back in the builder's yard, examining plans, selecting bricks, mixing cement, and sharpening tools. On behalf of Johan and my fellow editors, I salute you, AVBOB, for your contribution as a building company.
Thank you, Douglas. What a labor of love that was. It's so hard to thank you adequately for reading that many poems, and we truly appreciate the care and attention you give each poem and every translation. In a moment, we announce the names of the remaining 5 language category winners, but before then, let's sink once more into those pizzicato poems, soul songs, and swing strings. Listen up and give it up for More Africa and Viwe.
Reading on yana jolly fau fau. Reading on yana jolly shoka. Reading on yana jolly fau fau. Fau 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 oh fau fau. Reading on yana jolly fau fau. Reading on yana jolly shoka. Reading on yana jolly fau fau. Fau 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 oh fau fau. Reading on yana. Re fofela godimo le fau fau re le molalatladi. Re le seboka. Ge COVID-19 e tsena ka mafuri. Go ya le naga ya batsi. Go fofa ka dihlopha. Go fofela borwa. Go fofela bodikela. Eupwa re gopoditšwe gore re batho ba letšatši lengwedi o tee gore maru a re tlhakela ka maina mohlang dinonyana tše dingwe di ya boya batho bo flamingo, blue crane le falcon, bo laughing thrushes di loba mafofa le dintlhaga tša ona. Matšatši a masomepedi tee a oketšwago sa felego. Re be re le seboka. Ka mefutafuta re le molalatladi. O itshoka ka ge o rata. O išutiša ka tshepo. Dinonyana tša lefaufau. Reading yana jolly shoka. Reading yana jolly fau fau. Fau 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 oh fau fau. Reading yana jolly fau fau. Reading yana jolly shoka. Reading yana jolly fau fau. Fau 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 oh fau fau. Re dinonyana re fofela godimo le fau fau. Re le molalatladi re le seboka. Mphato wa bone re sa fofa. Re sa ithuta leswa go akalla marung. Go bontšhana lerato. Opela ka morumo le modumo o tee. Dinonyana tša lefaufau. Re dinonyana tša lešoka. Re dinonyana tša lefaufau. Faufau faufau oh faufau. Re dinonyana tša lefaufau. Re dinonyana tša lešoka. Reading on yana jolly fau fau. Fau 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 oh fau fau.
Wasn't that brilliant?
It certainly was.
Well, let's give them a big round of applause. Now, the next moment we've all been waiting for. In the third place, in the isiZulu language category, we have Nomtandazo Sithole. And in second place, we have Sinenhlanhla Manzi. And the winner of the fourth AVBOB Poetry Competition in the isiZulu language category is
Hlulizitha Zwelihle Khumalo. Well done.
Hlulizitha Zwelihle Ngumalo's hometown is Hlabisa, north of Richards Bay. He works as a merchandiser in the retail industry. I entered the AVBOB Poetry Competition to showcase my calling as a poet and to test myself against the world, he says. I was young when I lost my father, and at the time I imagined that if I were an adult with money, I could have prevented his death. I wrote this poem to ease my heart. Like the high-profile isiZulu poet Mzwakhe Mbuli, a sought-after bard at funerals in the 80s, Hlulizitha found his calling by honoring community members with elegies. He says, "I've often written poems for the dead when friends asked me to do it, but was too scared to stand in front of people at funerals. Perhaps that will change now that he's won this competition." In third place in the isiXhosa language category, we have Sinesipho Maduabe. And in second place, we have Sisikelelwe Dlekana. And the winner of the fourth AVBOB Poetry Competition in the isiXhosa language category is
Sinethemba Lusawana. Well done.
Sinethemba Lusawana lives in Engobo in rural Mtsimba in the Eastern Cape. He's a final year engineering student at Walter Sisulu University who combines his engineering with poetry, like other famous poets, Athol Williams, Robert Berold, and Resoketswe Manenze. When people in his community succumbed to the coronavirus, he wrote to honor the medics, to let them know that they were in his heart and his prayers. This was his first entry into a poetry competition. He says, "I've always loved poetry, but never imagined seeing this day." In third place in the isiNdebele language category, we have Musawenkosi Mahlangu. And in second place, we have Happy Skosana. And the winner of the fourth AVBOB Poetry Competition in the isiNdebele language category is
Bongani Kleinboy Skosana. Well done.
Bongani Kleinboy Skosana is a shoe repairman at his home in Manyebetwana, Mpumalanga. There is a rich heritage of cobbler poets in the 19th century, but he might just be the first and only South African poet to adopt this noble mantle. For a man who knows how to fix the broken soles of worn-out shoes, it was a small step to writing poems that would mend the broken-heartedness of the bereft and bring hope for tomorrow. He's known the struggles of depression and the difficulties of trying to hold oneself together after the loss of a loved one. He's grateful to the AVBOB Poetry Competition for giving him a platform to showcase his talent and comfort the grieving. In third place in the English language category, we have Pelelani Makanya. And in second place, we have David Muirhead. And the winner of the fourth AVBOB Poetry Competition in the English language category is
Anne Scarborough Moore.
Anne Scarborough Moore is a graphic and fine artist from Kenilworth in the Western Cape who epitomizes the saying, if at first you don't succeed, then try try again. She was a finalist in our second competition and she won the first AVBOB mini competition in May 2020. Writing is a vital part of her creativity and she loves painting pictures in words. Anne hopes her poetry will build bridges to reach grieving people who can't find the words to express themselves. She says, I've written poetry ever since learning to hold a pencil. I saw the first AVBOB Poetry Competition advertised in the Sunday Times in 2017, and after a break of 34 years, I found myself on the most exciting journey of my entire life. I'm eternally grateful to AVBOB for this. And now for the final award of the night, the Afrikaans language category. In third place, we have Salvia Okhuis. And in the second place, we have Marietta Martens. And the winner of the fourth AVBOB Poetry Competition in the Afrikaans language category is
Jacques Coetzee. Well done.
Jacques Coetzee lives in Cape Town with his wife and a guide dog. He is a singer-songwriter in the band Red Earth and Rust, and he tutors English literature at UNISA. He co-published a collection called The Love Sheet with Barbara Fairhead, and his debut collection, An Illuminated Darkness, was published by Uhlanga Press in 2020. The work is a searing exploration of life as a blind person and is also in places searingly funny. Jacques has written poetry since he was 12. He says, I love how the AVBOB Poetry Competition breaks down barriers between people and languages because we all love and grieve in the same language. This annual competition embodies that truth. Shortly before the competition deadline last year, my beloved cousin was murdered in the Free State under mysterious circumstances. The poem addresses him and tries to say the things for which I couldn't find the words when he was alive. And that, friends, is why the AVBOB Poetry Competition exists, to give people a way to say some of the things that they can't express. Here we are now, 5 years since its inception, grateful to the visionary founders of the AVBOB Poetry Competition. We wish to thank the judges who read, selected and translated the winning poems that appear in Volume 4 of the annual prize winners anthology, I Wish I'd Said. It is now available for sale and we encourage you to buy it, read it and learn from it. Most of all, we hope you will allow the words of the poets to touch your heart, to console and comfort you when you need it most. We're grateful also to all the technical staff and agency staff behind the scenes who made this video production possible under challenging conditions. And finally, here we are, saying farewell and thank you to you, our viewers, for joining us here tonight. We hope you are inspired to put pen to paper, fingertips to keyboard in order to keep the poetry light burning. Please write your poems and register on our website so that you can enter the 5th annual AVBOB Poetry Competition, which opened on the 1st of August and closes on the 30th of November 2021. May your words bring us all another year of hope and healing, of comfort and connection.
I couldn't agree more.
Thank you. Thank you to you all and good night.
Deep in your cheeks, your specific laughter owns all things south of the ghost. We once were straight ahead. The memory begins from the future. You and I, a tribe of colors, the song that dances. Godlike rhythms to birth, footsteps of memory. The very soul aspires to song, oh, songs of origins, songs of origins, songs of constant beginnings. Oh, Mara, aish, what is this thing called love? Deep, deep in your cheeks, Your specific laughter owns all things south of their goals. We once were straight ahead. The memory beacons from the future. You and I, a tribe of colors. There's song that dances, godlike rhythms to birth, footsteps of a memory. The very soul aspires to song, songs of origins, songs of origins, songs of constant beginnings. What is this thing called love?